Hi, I'm Robert Steven Munoz, and I want to spend a little time with you cooking today and visit more of my Cuban type of croquetas, and to do them with chicken instead of ham or pork. So I started digging through my books and I found the Cuban Table Cookbook. It's a great cookbook. Definitely some beautiful, beautiful stories of like Miami and Cuba. It's inspired by a lot of different chefs and restaurants and cafes. So definitely a great inspiration and a great source for Cuban recipes. If you don't have a Cuban grandmother or a Cuban mother or Cuban father, this is a great source for you. So I pulled up the croqueta recipe that's in here, and also just kind of did a deep dive into my memory of the croquetas that I grew up having. And so here we have it. I am going to make croquetas de pollo for you and for my friends. So let's take a look and see what I've got going on. So we have some flour. There's enough there to flour the croquetas, but also to make the bechamel. We have some beaten eggs, some chopped onion. We have the chicken, which I've already chopped up in a food processor to make it microfine. We have our spices, and I'm using Italian breadcrumbs, and of course some butter and some milk. So one thing I'd like to mention as well with the chicken, what I did was I took chicken breasts, actual chicken tenders, and I marinated them in a mojo. If you don't know what a mojo is, we'll get back to that eventually on maybe another episode. We'll do a mojo together. And I cooked them up, let them cool off, and then chopped them up in the food processor. So let's get started at making. Start getting that butter melted. Good melt in that butter. And then we're gonna add the diced onion. So this is about a half of a yellow onion. And I just threw it in the food processor to get it nice and fine, because we definitely don't want it to be too chunky so you're biting into pieces of onion. Now we're going to let that cook until the onions get nice and translucent. I always like to add a little salt, just bring the water out of the onions. And like some people like to say, make the onions sweat. Sweat it out, bro. Okay, let's see how these onions are coming along. Looking good, becoming a little bit more translucent, tender. What we don't want is we don't want them to become too browned or caramelized, because that'll change the flavor profile completely. Okay, so now while my onions are cooking down and getting nice and tender and translucent, I'm going to go ahead and pre-whisk the milk and the flour together. And I want to get it nice and creamy and smooth and even. So this is going to help when we add it to those cooked onions and butter to keep it from clumping and just really get a beautiful, nice, creamy bechamel. It's amazing how many different recipes the bechamel sauce can be used for, from lasagnas to croquetas. There's always a good reason to have this. And once you master it, which is not that hard to do, you'll find so many uses for it. Even in Greek dishes, moussaka. Okay, let's go check on those onions. Okay, I think these onions are ready, so we're gonna slowly add in that flour and milk mixture. Add a little bit of it. Give it a good stir. You know, something about onions sauteing, just that smell just definitely reminds me of home. That's for sure. See how smooth and creamy whipping together that milk and flour ahead of time is? And we're gonna keep stirring this and letting it cook for a few minutes until we start to see a nice, rich creaminess out of it. And you can see, it's only been about a minute and it's already starting to thicken up and develop a little body. Okay, look at that. It's already nice and thick and creamy. I'm gonna lower this heat down, and we're going to add in our seasonings. So we have salt, pepper, a little bit of cayenne, and a little bit of nutmeg. So we're going to add the salt. We're going to add a little bit of the nutmeg, not too much. You don't want it to taste like a pumpkin pie. The cayenne, which we're just going to add some of it now. Then when everything's done, we'll add more later if we want to pick up the spice a little bit. And black pepper. We're going to stir that in really good. Oh, I wish you could smell this. It smells incredible. Okay, now that our bechamel is complete, it's nice and thick and creamy, we are ready to stir in the ground up chicken. I'm gonna put this all in there, because that's the one thing I would have to say about a lot of restaurant croquetas. They really kind of skimp on the actual meat in the meat filling, but that's the pleasures of cooking at home. You can make the adjustments to fit your taste and fit your needs. And I want to taste the chicken in my chicken croquetas, my croquetas de pollo. Yo quiero probar el pollo, right? Come on. So we got the seasoning in there. We've got the chicken in there. You can see it's nice and creamy, wonderful texture. It's going to be easy to work with. I wish you could smell this. All the smells, all the flavors, all the aromas are starting to come together. Oh, it smells so good. You know, pre-marinating that chicken really, I think it's gonna make a big difference. Add that little extra sazon to the recipe. So now we want to taste it so we can figure out our spice level and if it needs a little more salt, a little more pepper. It's good, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do a deep dive and throw in the rest of these spices. And now we're ready to add our parsley. I used Italian parsley, chopped it up to give it that extra little zing, that crispness, that freshness. I want to stir this in really good. I mean, this is gonna be a beautifully savory croqueta de pollo. Or chicken croquette for my non-Spanish speakers out there. A chicken croquette. Yes, ma'am. That's what we're making. So now what we want to do is we're going to transfer this mixture to a bowl, cover it, and refrigerate it for at least an hour or more. This is a great recipe that you can really kind of start ahead of time. Not a recipe you really want to make like the day of, because there's two steps or multiple steps to this process. So we're going to go ahead and cover this, put this in the refrigerator for a little bit, then we'll come back and that's when we really start to have fun, where we can make our little shapes, roll them in the eggs and the flour and the breadcrumbs, and make some beautiful and delicious croquetas de pollo. So we'll be back soon. Okay, so now our filling has chilled. It's nice and firm, so it's almost like a Play-Doh. So it's gonna be a lot of fun and easy to work with. So what I've done is I've grabbed an ice cream scoop, because we want a little bit bigger than like a walnut, maybe golf ball size amount of each serving, and then a teaspoon to kind of scrape it out with so we can keep our hands somewhat clean. And I have a little bit of oil here, so I'm going to oil up my fingertips and oil up the spoons as well so that this dough will slide off easy. So I have our beaten eggs, our flour, and our breadcrumbs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna scoop this out into those balls, roll it into like about I like to say about the size of my index finger. I was gonna use my middle finger, but that might not be too cute. So about the size of my index finger, roll it out, and then we have a tray lined with parchment that we're gonna line them up on, and then we're gonna wanna chill them after we're done forming them to get nice and firm. So when it's time to fry them up, they'll fry nice and keep their shape really good. So ready to do this? Let's give it a try. You know, I'll be honest, it's my first time making these by hand, all right? So let's see how this goes. Bear with me. So we got the scoop. I'm gonna scoop that out. Gonna roll it. Don't want them too big or too little. I hate when someone gives you one and it's like so small. It's like, girl, give me 10 more of those. So I think that's a pretty good size, right? So we're gonna dip it in the egg. We're gonna roll it in flour. Shake off the excess flour. So now it looks like that. We're gonna dip it back in the egg. And now we're gonna roll it into the breadcrumbs. And just a reminder, I said I'm using the Italian style breadcrumbs. And we'll get that nice and coated, evenly coated. Try to keep the shape as best as possible, because the coating is what's gonna keep everything in place and keep the shape and keep the filling from leaking out when it's being fried. So here we go, nice and dirty. Told you this part was gonna be fun. If you think getting your hands dirty with food is fun, I do. So I changed the camera angle so you could see the actual process here, and I have to admit I had made kind of a mess. Full disclosure, I cleaned up a little bit between shooting the second piece. And I did find after rolling a couple of them out, the more gentle you are when you're actually, it's almost kind of like a tossing between the two hands as opposed to like rolling it the way you would with like cookie dough or Play-Doh for that matter. And then I also found too, like when you're putting it into the flour, if you just kind of like toss it and let it roll, it's you see, not the most graceful. And then same thing in the egg, just kind of toss it, let it roll in your hand, and then into the breadcrumb, kind of cover it with the breadcrumb. Want to make sure it's really coated. And kind of roll it in there gently too, and that way you have a nice little fat finger of a croqueta. So I'm going to keep that process going. Breadcrumbs and eggs and flour everywhere. What a mess, but I'm sure it's all gonna be worth it. I think I've got the hang of it. Generous, coming out pretty good. Looks like I'm gonna have probably about a baker's dozen. What I've been also doing is when I drop it in the breadcrumbs, I leave the one in the breadcrumb until I'm ready to plop the other one in. So it really gives time for those breadcrumbs to stick and get a nice like shell on the outside of the croqueta. So yeah, down to the last scoop of dough here. Again, it's a slight roll, almost like a toss between your oiled fingers and oiled hands. Still a little messy, but a little fun. You know, if you ain't getting dirty, you ain't having fun. So one last roll in the egg, into the flour. I don't know if you can really see the mess that I've made here on my kitchen counter, but it's gonna be worth it. I just know it. Another dip back into the egg. We'll drop this one into the breadcrumbs, and now we can scoop the other one out. And look how nicely coated that is in the breadcrumb. Now you can really see the mess I just unveiled for you. And voila. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop these in the fridge for about an hour or so. If you're kind of in a hurry because you're dying to eat them like I am, you can actually pop them in the freezer for about 30 minutes. You just want them to be like nice and firm, so when they drop into that hot oil, they'll keep their shape, keep their form, and get a nice, even, crispy coat. All right, so let's let these chill for a bit, all right? Well, now the time has come to cook our croquetas. So we are gonna fry them. I have a pan heating up right now, heating up the oil with, I'm using canola oil because it fries easy, doesn't give a lot of flavor, doesn't give a lot of smell to the food, and the coating should come out nice and crispy on the outside and really tender on the inside. So we want the temperature of the oil to be about 365, 370. It's a good temperature, and we want to let them fry in there kind of freely, so you don't want to overcrowd the pan because that's also going to cool off the oil. So you want to make sure that oil stays hot when you put the cold food into the oil. It's always a nice little trick to keep in mind. And we want to fry them for about 2 to 3 minutes each, kind of like rotating them so they come out nice and even and golden brown on all sides. So ready to get started? Let's do this because I'm dying to try these croquetas. So let's get them in the oil. Okay, so the oil should be nice and hot by now. I'm gonna throw in a little bit of the crumbs that fell off of one of the croquetas, put it in there, and see if it bubbles and sizzles up, and get that going. Perfect. So our croquetas are nice and firm. Just gonna gently drop them in. And I have a nice big pan here, so I should be able, let's see how many I can get in here without overcrowding the pan, without cooling off the oil too much. And I'm gonna stick with the 4. And remember, your chicken is already cooked, the bechamel sauce is already cooked, so this isn't really about cooking the inside, it's about getting that beautiful golden brown color and crispiness on the outside. I have a plate here with some paper towels already ready to go to absorb that extra fat. And see, these are browning up really fast, really easy. So beautiful. Oh my God, this is gonna be perfect. So to make sure we don't have too much oil, I'm gonna use a slotted spoon to lift them out. Look at that. Look at that croqueta. Es perfecto. Okay, I'm doing pretty good here. Look at that. Beautiful. Eso es un croqueta perfecto, man. Ay, qué rico. And I know you're going to be tempted to eat one right away, but you definitely want to let these cool off first. Okay, so our croquetas are done. They are ready. Look at that. So beautiful. Again, full transparency, because I like to be real, because it happens in the kitchen. I did have a couple of blowouts. This one had a little blowout, and this one had a little blowout, but that's okay. Those are the ones that the chef eats. Got that? So now we are ready to plate these and serve these. So completely being really traditional. If you go to like a little cafetera in Little Havana, Miami, this is how you're gonna have them. You're gonna get some saltines, a little limon. We're gonna put 2 croquetas on here. And then of course, a little Tabasco right on top. Just a couple of drops right on top of the croqueta. I know you could use your favorite hot sauce, whatever you like, but this is pretty much what we grew up on, and this is what you'll find kind of a lot of places. And of course, it's gonna make you thirsty. That hot, crunchy, salty food. So a little beer. We'll take a little lime right down into the beer. Perfect. Nice cold beer. Perfect croqueta. Let's break that open and see all that hot, steamy, ooey goodness on the inside. And we're just gonna smash it onto a cracker. Maybe a little bit more Tabasco. Why not? Let's get that open. We ready for this? Oh my God. Oh my God. Seriously, all the flavors. Hold on. All the flavors that we put together. The spices, the herbs, marinating that chicken before cooking it and adding it in there. That sweet creaminess of the bechamel sauce. The herby, crispy, crunchy breadcrumbs on the outside. Oh my God. This is truly the perfect croqueta. Well, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, the cookbook that I used is the Cuban table. The recipe's in there. Of course, I made some adjustments to the recipe, switching out a few of the ingredients. You can't go wrong either way. Bien provecha, and remember, food is life and life is worth celebrating. So let's celebrate together. Until next time. Mm.